want to tell you about some of the cases. I want to tell you first about many of the issues we face today. The first one is NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act. You've no doubt heard about it. It is the workshop equivalent of measure twice, cut once. It's what you do when you plan to do something. Before you cut into that piece of wood, you want to make sure I'm cutting it right. And that's what NEPA requires. It's the 1969 Act, and all it requires is the government take a hard look. Amazingly enough, that's a legal term of art. Judges actually say, we got to make sure the agency took a hard look. I don't know what it means. That's one of the problems. It is what it is. And so the problem with NEPA is, ever since we adopted NEPA, we haven't built an oil refinery in this country. We didn't increase the size of the levees down in New Orleans prior to Katrina. And today we allow trees to rot on the stump after a forest fire simply because of NEPA does not permit us to get in expeditiously and harvest that timber. Let me give you a neat example. Several years ago, we wanted to drill for oil, gas, in the overthrust belt up in Montana, in an area where everybody knew there was gas. All we had to do was drill. We weren't going to drill in the National Forest, the Lewis and Clark National Forest. We were going to drill off-site, and because of technology, drill underneath and cover that gas. Well, all the environmental crazies in the country went nuts. And they wrote in all these letters. One of my favorite came from a wacko lady in Ohio who had never been to Montana. And she wrote this: I've never been to Montana. I've never been in this area. However, I read the book The Horses for her. And it sounds like a beautiful piece of country, and certainly not the kind of place to drill for oil and gas. And based on these and other wacky writings, the forest supervisor, honest to gosh, her name was Flora, said, no, we can't harvest, we can't drill for oil there in the National Forest. And based on NEPA, she made that decision. We see these kinds of decisions being made all across the country, and they're harming our ability to develop energy in this country. One of the things we have tried to do, and when I say, remember I said hard look, it's in the eye of the beholder, that's what gives free license to these environmental groups to come in and say, oh no, Judge, they didn't take a hard look in this case, you need to tell them to do it again. And they tell them to do it again and again all the time.